It's Saturday. I usually say good, followed by the day, but I don't know what's good about it, so I'm just going to say it's Saturday. Like Mr. Carrot. I think he's pretty cute. So I'm talking about, for my first point, typical people like me who have their problems, but they don't overly suffer or struggle, and have enough money. We have privilege amount of money when you consider we're working class. We're not rich by any stretch, we're not even middle class, but we have privilege amount of money in the working class category. So we can pay for everything that we need to pay for, and most of what we want, which we don't want much. And I think that applies to a lot of people in this country. Not rich, not poor, in between. I want to know how it is that so many typical people didn't have time to pay attention to what Donald Trump's regime was saying before he got elected. How is it that I can be gone for work Monday through Friday between like 5:55 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. and that's considered average decent traffic because that doesn't account for jams or anything like that? How is it I can be gone for almost 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday, working a full-time job, still having time for hobbies like putting together Legos, or me and James going down to play dice games, or going out to socialize. Oh, and I published 3 books in the meantime. How is it I have time to pay attention to what's happening and what's going on and what they're saying? And so many people didn't have time. I don't have time to pay attention. Then what are you spending your time doing? Because if you had been paying attention, we wouldn't have had this disaster that is now our country. We're spiraling down to no longer freaking exist. The woman, I can't think of her name, but in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, who got dragged out of that town hall meeting by the Gestapo at a town hall meeting where she had the First Amendment right to ask a fucking question, and that fucking MC being such a fucking misogynistic pig that still allowed to show his face in public and to speak. And the whole thing with Zelensky, I am so full of rage right now. I don't even know what to do with it. This morning I got finished with my final Lego set that I have until I order some more sets. And I was just sad because I don't have anything to direct my anger at. And I'm not saying that I'm angrily making Lego sets. It's something to take my mind away. And now it's gone. I put up a post about my idiotic family members. And one of my family members, who's been on my friends list for I don't know how many years, never even liked, much less makes a comment on my post. What makes an idiotic family member, pray tell? I'll tell you what, being an anti-vaxxer and voting for Trump either the second or the third time. First time, I'll give you a pass. The second time and the third time, that's what makes you an idiotic family member. And I said I was glad to live so many miles away from them. I'm glad. Except for the fact that I live 5 miles away from the worst racist fucking bigots that exist. They're even worse in Washington than they were in Alabama, because at least in Alabama, people kept their mouths shut about it. They're just blatantly bigoted out here. It blows my fucking mind. When I moved here, I was just shocked at how many super conservative people there were. I'm like from the fucking state of fucking Alabama, backwater, third world country. How am I more liberal than some of y'all? And how am I more empathetic than some of y'all? This is my southern accent coming out. I don't give a shit. The only reason I give a shit about my accent is that when James and I go to Scotland next year, I can't pretend to be a Canadian because I don't sound anybody like a Canadian person. Because people in other countries are going to be looking for people from the United States with a side eye. And all assume that we all voted for Donald Trump when we all didn't. I promise we didn't. Now my tablet has gone to sleep, thank goodness. So let me move on to something else here. I published my first book in 2021. It's called They Called Her Morlock. But I had started writing it in 2015. So it took me a long time to get that book finished. And it was a very long book. So since then I have made it a goal to pretty much have novella length, not science fiction length novels. This is something that I wrote. And people in my circle who read my books call me Nostradamus and say I predict the future. And I've talked about that before in a video. I'm not really that. I'm just can read the room and I'm satirical so I can figure out what's going to happen. But I want to read you this. And sorry, I don't out loud read very well, but I'm going to read it and it'll hopefully help me calm down. So civil battles and foreign attacks were for the most part at a ceasefire in what was once known as the United States. Such was not the case in the area once known as the Florida Everglades. The sawgrass, marshes, and pine flat woods alike were frequently under attack by sea pirates and predators. Excuse me, I need to take a drink. Drool. The people who lived in the area constantly awaited the next invasion. Their possessions would be taken, and sometimes their women and children. Sounds a lot like Ukraine. The Nakubian president cared little. He had been nicknamed Alatori the Swamp Apple because of his perpetual green-tinted skin and hair. Like Trump. I made a future Trump, only he's green instead of orange. He was a clueless man who was elected by the Nakuba city citizens over and again simply because he had a crass, loud voice and said what they wanted to hear. He did not consider the Everglades as part of his small and subtropical country. Gulf of America wants to make the Gaza Strip into a hotel. Him and his little cronies or his little lackeys or whatever you want to call them were saying what they were going to do before he got elected. Project 2025 said he tried to deny he had anything to do with it, but everybody else around him was saying he had planned to enact it. Matt Walsh, all these people said yay, he got elected. Now we can start Project 2025. People wanted to act like that didn't exist. It existed. It's been formulated for 20 fucking years. So don't come crying to me when you can't vote because your name is not the same on your birth certificate as it is on your marriage certificate or your driver's license or your passport. They have been planning on trying to eliminate the 19th Amendment somehow, and that's how they're going to do it. It's going to get passed. And don't come crying to me if you voted for Trump and you can no longer get the birth control pills that you use to control a medical condition because they're banned. And let's just wait until the national abortion ban. I thought it was supposed to be the states. Now everything's going to be national. Make it make sense. Oh, and the no-fault divorce. More and more states are filing for that too. So don't be sad when you can't divorce your terrible husband because you have to prove he abuses you. At this point, we try to tell you seems really fucking stale because now it's just at the point of no return. I feel like this country is going to collapse in the next decade, if not sooner. Have a good one as you can if you didn't vote for Trump. If you did, fuck off my page.